This is the Investor Connect podcast program. I'm Halti Martin. I'm the host of this show in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, family offices, private equity, and many other investors for early stage and growth companies. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, this is Hal Martin with Investor Connect. Today we're here with Pedro Falcão of LC Ventures. Pedro, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, great. So what was your background before investing in early stage companies? What did you do before LC Ventures?
So I started working in the 80s. So I was a programmer, then an analyst, strategic consultant. I was a program manager for a year 2000 change in a large financial group covering 4 continents and more than 150 project managers. All went great, by the way. And then in 2000, I started to invest in startups as investment director at iTech. It was a great experience, but after 5 years, I decided I wanted to learn more about what was working inside the startup itself so that I could later on help them more. So I went to work at one of the Portuguese unicorns, which is called Timui. At that time, Timui was only doing 4 million per year. So in 18 months, we grew to 70 million and to 70 countries around the world. It was a great experience. We were in all continents, investing at the peak before I left 16 million per month in advertising and growing quite fast, faster than our competitors. Afterwards, I went to work with OutSystems, which is the leading low-code platform in the world. At the time, also, OutSystems was doing roughly 4 or 5 million per year, and I was a part of the change, help the company reposition itself and become more focused on partner networks. Right now, the company is growing quite well. It's closed a 300 million round with KKR and with other investors, and it's growing super fast. And after that, I came back again to the investor world. So then I went to work with a VC, helped raise a fund up to 20 million euros, invested in interesting startups in the fintech and big data area. But later on, after a few more years, I decided I wanted to have something for myself. So I created my own company with some partners, and we started investing. And right now, in total, I have more than 100 startups in different regions of the world, but mainly in Europe, but also in North America, Latin America, Africa, and Asia. And more recently, I've been the CEO of LC Ventures, a micro VC with 16 million euros under management, based in Lisbon and investing in Europe and the Americas in tech startups.
Great. So what excites you right now?
Well, actually, right now, and it is moment in time, I like to do things that make me happy. And what actually makes me super happy is helping startups. And why? Because each startup is different. They have different business models, different sectors, different strategies, different people. And so we are never bored. So it's actually great. Always different things. I've worked in many different areas, so I can help them in different verticals or different knowledge areas. So that's great. But I like to help them, starting from the very beginning and see them grow. That is the most satisfying thing. Of course, as we have also part of our money, it's not only ours, it's also from investors from all over the world, from Australia, Ukraine, Switzerland, and Portugal, for instance. And so we have to take very careful of that money, but we really, really like to help startups. That's essentially what we like to do. And so that's in the core of what we do.
Oh, great. So what's your advice for people investing in startups from around the world? What do you tell them to do before they write that first check?
I think that the way we were able to secure money from people from different regions of the world, right? And make them invest in us. We are based in a small country in Europe. Of course, it's one of the third most safest country in the world, but it's a small country. So one thing is that we do have interesting characteristics in the startups that we have in Portugal. So first, they are very cost effective. If you compare them with startups in Germany or startups in the US, with the same amount of money, you can do 3 times what you need to do. It can be developing a product, a software product, or hiring salespeople or marketing people. So you can do much, much more, and with dependable and great talent. So that's something that we do have. So we can go way longer and for a longer time with less money. The other thing is that as we have a small country, it is great for testing. People like to test new things, especially new technologies, new products. But it's a small country, so right from the very beginning, startups must think internationally. They must focus on going international from the first moment. So after a couple of months, they have to go abroad. And so that's a huge difference from other countries, like say Germany or France, or even better the US, where you can stay for 1, 2, 3 years working only in your own country. So from the ground up, you have to think internationally, supporting different languages, finding out different needs, because different countries have specificities. It's different ways of doing business, different ways, different requirements that the customers have, and the segments. So it's great for the startups from the very beginning. So they are very international. The other thing is that as we were one of the first global nations 5 centuries ago, we still have great ties to Latin America, to Africa, and even to some countries in Asia. So to us, it's rather simple to go to those regions. Whereas if you are from other parts of the world, maybe if you are from the Nordic countries or elsewhere, it may be more difficult for you to step outside of your comfort zone. So to us, even if there's complexity and difficulties, we have no problem in addressing it. And so that's a clear strength that startups, for instance, based here in Portugal, do have.
And then on the other side of the table, what's your advice for people running startups in those areas?
In those areas, in Portugal or outside of Portugal?
Well, Portugal first and the rest of Europe second.
Okay, if you are based in Portugal, so the good thing is that we have been through crises recently and in the past years, and we're super felt in the country. So we are very careful with the money that is given by the investors. So that's a good thing. So actually, I also have a motto for the startups is always invest, never spend. Even if you are hiring someone, always think about the value that person will create in 1 year versus the yearly total cost of that person. And the same for other things. If you are going to go to an event, let's say the Mobile World Congress, how much will it cost in total versus what you expect to have for it? So we must always measure to see the return of every dollar or euro that you invest. If you go to other countries and other regions, it depends on the regions. If you are going, for instance, to countries where, as an investor, countries where the currency, let's say, is less stable, one thing is the euro or the dollar. Another thing is, for instance, the Brazilian real, right? In 1 year, you can have a variation that can affect your returns as an investor. So that is also something that the startups that are based there must also consider in attracting foreign investors. The same is if you have a startup, let's say, in South Africa, right? There are lots of opportunities there. There are great countries with huge population. Many of the startups that started, let's say, in the US, probably sometimes haven't launched yet similar services or products in those countries. But going into those countries is a challenge for those that are not used to doing business in those regions. Not only the legislation sometimes is difficult to interpret, there are some caveats that you must consider, but also the risks with the currency, the risks with the culture of the country, with the people that work there, which have different values from, let's say, from Europe or from elsewhere, which are not necessarily bad, but they are different. It's something that you must consider when investing in those other countries. We have been fortunate to work with founders from all of these regions, and for most cases we have been very successful, and we have had no major issues with them, but we know of other cases that were not like that.
So how do you see the industry evolving these days? What changes do you see coming up in Portugal for startups and funding startups?
Well, since I was investing since 2000, 20 years ago, so what I see was initially it was a very, very small environment. So wouldn't have more than, let's say, 20 relevant entities in the market investing between VCs and business angels. And then after 20 years, we have seen a huge growth. So we are very small still, but we have now more than 50 risk capital firms. So everything is growing quite fast in that part. We have several hundred business angel investment vehicles. So things are also going well, but we are still small compared to Spain, right? Which is typically 5 to 6 times larger than Portugal. If you consider our population or GDP, we are actually 15 times smaller. So there are lots of opportunities here. What has happened is that up to, let's say, 200, 300K ticket sizes, you can find it in Portugal. Above that, usually you have the involvement of foreign investors, which of course come to Portugal to invest because there are lots of arbitrage opportunities, right? You can find here a fantastic startup, let's say very innovative in the world with a very low valuation that you can easily invest and make it grow to other different countries. So we have typically investors from the US, from Great Britain, and also from Spain, mainly investing in Portugal, especially in late seed and Series A and B and C. So we still have to grow, but it's hard. So we are a very small country, so we have to grow our base of VCs and business angels in order to be on the same level in the relative terms to Spain. So we have still a long way to go.
Well, great. So let's talk about LC Ventures. What's your investment thesis for that fund, and what do you look for in startups that you invest in for that LC Ventures?
So we invest in Europe and the Americas, really only in tech startups in the pre-seed and seed stages. But we look for startups that are innovative so that they can, quickly grow internationally with as limited funds as possible. Regarding our small tickets, our ticket size go from 50 to 200, 300K initially, and can go up to 600K in follow-on rounds. We have been successful in finding and spotting a few of these companies. For instance, we invested in the first company in the world to allow just caught fish from the middle of the Atlantic, let's say, to be sold in marketplaces to restaurant groups, hotel groups, or supermarket chains, all with full traceability and using blockchain. All that company is now doing pilots in every continent, and it's growing well. We have been working with a company that is as the solution for the Internet of Cargo, which is called Sensefinity. They are working with Airbus, Swiss Air, Siemens, Deutsche Bahn, very large companies, Daimler, and they are streamlining the processes of moving goods from one place to the other and combining with their own patent solution, which combines sensors and beacons and creating mesh networks. So it's actually great to be working with companies which are changing the world and that have started in such a small country. Another one is Musiversal, which is rather unique because they allow that a composer, someone that creates a tune at their home or if they are professional at their office, they want to do full recording in a studio. Let's say the studio where the Beatles have recorded, or a studio in New York or in Asia. They allow you to do that starting at only $99. They are going super fast with huge margins, and they have been helping to reinvent a business that was a little bit stuck in the past, and they have been able to make it digital from one end to the other, and including one of their customers already got a Grammy from the music that was recorded in one of the studios that they work with in the world. So we've been working with very interesting and very different companies, which make us very proud and make us want to do more every day for them.
Great. So what are the challenges you see startups in Portugal facing today? Of course, fundraising is always a challenge, but aside from that, what do you think they're spending the most time on to get their business up and running? Is it regulatory? Is it the market? Is it technology? Where do you see the focus?
Yes, of course. Getting money in a small country, in a small ecosystem is tough. That's the main thing. And afterwards, some of them have, let's say, in the beginning, sometimes they are more technical, they are less ambitious, they don't know how to sell themselves, either to their customers or to potential investors. That's the main thing that we have seen. So sometimes they have great products, great solutions, great software, which is as good as the best all over the world, but they don't know how to market themselves. They don't know how to put themselves out there. That's the main issue. So I would say that's the main problem. The second thing, which I think it's transversal to startups all over, is management issues, right? Especially when the founders are in their majority technical guys, because we work with technical startups. They never managed the company before, or if they did it, it was a small scale stuff. And so when things start growing, they have their pains, and that's also something that sometimes limits their ability to grow as fast as they could. Those are the two major issues that we have identified across startups here.
Okay. Well, you see a range of applications in startups. If you had to pick one or two sectors or applications that you think are good opportunities for investors to pursue today, which one or two would you call out?
Well, in one thing, we seem to be going towards a major global crisis. It's inevitable because we have cycles, and maybe what we are experiencing at the beginning of this year is the thing that will trigger this new crisis. These are always fantastic opportunities for investors. So if you have secured funds to invest during a crisis, is when we have the best returns. But these are also great opportunities for startups that focus on addressing the main issues that occur in crisis. So things like reducing costs, optimizing, making automatizing the business processes and things like that. Those are great things. The other things is cutting off the middleman. For instance, that company that I referred to earlier on, the one with the fish, the BitClick, they cut the middleman. They connect the fisherman with the chain of hotels that is buying the fish, or with the chain of restaurants that's buying the fish. So these types of things that disrupt businesses and disrupt sectors are things that I would see good as to be invested in a moment of crisis. Also, we have many companies that making automating things. For instance, one of the companies, Agentify, they have developed a digital assistant that works with voice and text, and that understands also emails, and that works in the fintech and the insurtech sectors. They are now already live with banks, allowing their customers to do transactions only by voice. Pay your electricity bill, transfer money to a person, and then identify which are the best channels to send the money to. Is it through Revolut? Is it through a normal bank transfer? Is it through the different options that you have? So these type of companies are making it its way, and they are great for the moments before and during a global crisis, which are also, as the name implies, are also moments of opportunities.
Well, great. Well, in the last few minutes that we have here today, what else should we cover that we haven't?
Actually, for startups, I think I could sell out a little bit what Portugal is, both for startups and for investors, what opportunities lie here. For startups, especially in the first 2 years, we have a great environment because you can find talent. We have founder teams from, let's say, all over Europe, from the Nordic countries, from Germany, from France, from Britain, that come to Portugal because here they can find the talent that they could not find elsewhere, and here they can actually hire them. So in other places, the search for talent, especially IT talent, is such that it's a pain to find talent that is at least a little bit loyal to the company, that will not go away in a few months, and that you can actually pay as a startup. So for the first 2 years, actually, we have a great place for startups to be, and we are halfway between the center of Europe Asia and the Americas and Africa, so you can go everywhere from here. Very good strategic location. The other thing for investors is that here we can find great startups that are as good as anywhere else in the world with fantastic valuations. So you can find great deals and you can do the arbitrage. And it's well known, a startup based here is valued a certain amount. If you move your headquarters, let's say, to Berlin, then you can multiply by 1.5 or 2 times your valuation. If you go to the States, you can do it 3 times or even 4 times. So it's great for investors, and many investors are now flocking and coming to Portugal to do just that, which is great for the ecosystem, and it's great for startups. And what we are seeing here is that we see more and more international founders coming to Portugal. Actually, around half of our startups in our portfolio have international founders. And we have seen also many international investors, from both sides of the Atlantic, coming to Portugal and investing in startups. And also many of our co-investors are foreign. So that's actually absolutely great. And I think that it's good always to find opportunities in countries like us. But the same that is valid for Portugal is valid for Spain and for Southern Europe and for Eastern Europe. There are many opportunities out there.
Well, that sounds great. Well, how best for listeners to get back in touch with you?
They can, of course, go to our website at lcventures.pt. We have founders can fill out the form and we'll get back to them soon. And of course, we have all our contacts there, our phones, our emails. We are always available. And if you want to talk to me personally, you can also contact me at my email, pedro.falcao@lcventures.pt, or just send me a note in LinkedIn.
Great. We'll add those to the show notes. I want to thank you for joining today and hope to have you back for a follow-up soon.
Okay. Thank you for having us. And I hope that we have been helpful sharing a bit more about our ecosystem.
It was great. Thank you so much.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Halti Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for the basis of investment decisions.